What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today it's team selection ahead of game week 12. Now, game week 11 was a big one for a lot of people. So many of the premium big hitters did well. Salah, De Bruyne with massive scores, Kane and Son chipping in as well. Bruno Fernandes got 6 points, which is pretty good considering he only played a half. So lots of players did well, and that's obviously now sprung the question into everyone's minds, including mine, is how many premium hitters do we need? How many of these big players do we need in our team? And how the hell do we get them in? So I'm going to talk about that when I talk about game week 12 and beyond, how I'm looking. There's going to be some tinkering at the end as well. And I'm also going to tell you how I did in game week 11. So if you're enjoying these team selection videos every single week, please do keep giving them a like and subscribe if you're new around here, and let's talk about OneFootball. So this video has kindly been sponsored by OneFootball. If you haven't already, it would really help me out if you give it a download. It's completely free to do as well. Android, iOS devices, just click that link below, and if you're on one of those devices, it will take you straight through to the store. You can download it and give it a go. I don't know about anyone else that's got it, right, but the goal notifications this weekend were ridiculous. There was so many points to be had. Obviously, not only do you get that, you got your team news, your lineup news, all your general football news as well. You can find out if Paul Pogba is finally going to leave Man United. And like I said, link in the description below. Make sure you click that. Android or iOS store, it takes you straight through. It's completely free and it helps me and the channel out. So please do give it a go. No reason not to. So what a week game week 11 was, right? It felt like one of those weeks where having just 2 premium players probably wasn't enough. You needed like 3 or more to get a really big week. And I've seen people get 80 plus even without Salah. So it's not absolutely necessary, but it did help this week. So I got 80 points in total. I only made one move, which was Bissouma to Jota, which has given me 8 attackers now because I've got Grealish and Watkins on the bench. So I've got to make a choice every single week, which I'll talk about in a sec when I come onto my team. And my overall rank's gone from 249,000 to 166,000. And one thing I would say is I'd tell a lot of people, probably don't check your rank too much through the weekend because it really can be affected by different players. And I've seen people go massively up, then massively down, then up a little bit. And it was the same for me, to be honest. I was up quite a bit for most of the weekend. Obviously, owning Son when Son and Kane played helped. But overall, it's a green arrow. At the end of the day, the rank at the end of the week and the end of the season is the only one that matters. In terms of points, right, I also did this with 10 men. So I didn't take a hit because I wanted to do Bissouma to Jota to get him in. A bit frustrating that he didn't start. I'm hoping he plays versus Fulham. If he doesn't, I am going to look to probably move him on. But I didn't take a hit for a goalkeeper change as well. And I'm glad I didn't, right? McCarthy got booked and conceded. Meslier conceded 3 versus Chelsea. And they were the only 2 I was really looking at. Johnston, a few people brought in for their second keeper, conceded 5. And there's even talk of the West Brom game not being on against Newcastle. So very happy that I stuck with Martinez. Look, he hasn't scored that many points himself when he's been playing, but hopefully he'll do okay. Reguilon coming in with another 6-pointer. Look, he's not got a big score yet. He hasn't got that assist and clean sheet, but he's got 4 clean sheets in a row for me now, and he is ticking over nicely. And I kept him because I thought he can probably match Man City defenders this week, which he has pretty much. And then next week he's got Crystal Palace, they've got Man United, so I'm hoping he actually outscores them, and he's risen in price today or overnight as well, so I've actually made 0.1 million on him, so very happy with that. Dallas 1-pointer, but look, I wouldn't have played him in a normal week. He wouldn't have got near my team if the Villa game was on, so again, not bothered about that. Chilwell conceded, but obviously he's really good going forward. Reece James a consideration as well. They did concede, but he got an assist, and he's someone I want to talk about in a second as well because I think he looks really good. And then Lamptey, look, I wonder if we'll ever get any decent points from Lamptey. I looked at his creative stats, right? So his expected goal involvement per 90 is 0.19. That's very close to the likes of Liverpool defenders, Chilwell, Reece James, so Trent and Robertson as well. It's not far off, but obviously he plays for a worse defence. But again, the defensive stats for Brighton are not that bad, and they've maybe been a little bit unlucky, and they do have some really good fixtures coming up, like Fulham, although they have started scoring a few more, Sheffield United as well. So as a rotation player, I think he's still okay, but I wouldn't want him in my team every single week, and I am going to talk about an upgrade for him in just a sec. And then all my premiums did really well. De Bruyne, Salah and Son. Look, I got a bit lucky, right? Had that Villa game been on, now of course I might have got good points from Grealish and Watkins against Newcastle, don't get me wrong, but had that game been on, I would have done Son to Fernandes. Fernandes only played 45, no one could have foreseen that. He got 6 points. I ended up keeping Son with 13, which I was quite happy about because next week he's got Crystal Palace and Fernandes has Man City, so I think I could be up again. But to come out 7 points better and keep Son, and now a lot of people are either thinking, how do I get Son back in, or how do I keep him and get the other players? So I'm really glad I stuck with him. Salah's just brilliant. I feel like Salah did so well that first season, has done well ever since. I feel like people's expectations are so high. They're always looking for a reason not to own Mo Salah. It's absolutely crazy. Fernandes has been brilliant, but Salah's back ahead of him now in the rankings in terms of points. And he's got Fulham next week. Like, the guy is just brilliant. He always comes through with points. And yeah, we'll talk about it next week. If you've not got Salah, I think you need a massive sofa. De Bruyne captain, 2 good fixtures, 2 big hauls. Very happy with him. We know what his fixtures like going forward. Calvert-Lewin ticking along again with points. Can I really get rid of him? And Bamford, the fact that he scored against Chelsea, very happy because I expected points against Everton and not Chelsea, and it's happened the other way around. Now the fixtures are really good. So we're going to talk about how my team is looking for Game Week 12, but really happy with that. 80 points, 166k rank. I think that's fine at this time of the season. Let's see how we can increase that even more. Okay, so looking ahead to Game Week 12, 1 free transfer, 102.6 million squad value, 0.8 in the bank. Now, Martinez in goal, not looking to get rid of him, otherwise I would have just done it last week. No need to make a goalkeeper change. There's a little stint over Christmas where I think 3 game weeks in a row they've got, Villa this is, they've got really tough fixtures. And I think it includes Spurs and Man United. But after that, the fixtures are pretty good. And they're also good before. So I'm hoping he can turn it around. Obviously, maybe there's a double game week potentially going to come up as well. We'll have to wait and see on news on that. And if there is, I definitely want him in goal. So happy with that. In my defence, so Dallas against West Ham at home. Pretty happy with that, right? Antonio could be back, should be back, but we'll have to wait and see. I just think Lee's defence now looks quite good for the next 5 game weeks. There's one, so the next 2 games are good, then it's Man United, then the next 2 games after that are good. So it's just that Man United game where you wouldn't want to play him. But you've got to remember they're 4.5 million, right? I think Dallas has gone up to 4.6 now, but Ayling's 4.5. You don't need to play them every single week, and we're not expecting massive points like the likes of Trent or Robertson or Reece James or Chilwell, etc. And for me, they're still using a rotation with Lamptey. So, for example, I can already tell you in Game Week 13, I'll probably bench Reguilon for Liverpool and play both Dallas and Lamptey. So, as squad players, they're really good, and I'm very happy with them, and I don't see why they couldn't get a clean sheet against West Ham. And if I was going for a goalkeeper right now, and I wasn't too concerned about the double game week, I'd probably get Meslier and maybe even double up. And in the games where they're a bit tougher, Meslier gets the saves, you don't play Dallas, job done. Reguilon, I already spoke about in the review a little bit. So he's basically my player instead of having a Man City defender. So I'm not against Man City defenders. I might even get Diaz at some point. But right now, I think Reguilon just covers him quite nicely. And 4 clean sheets in a row. Like the way Jose Mourinho is playing right now is to win, right? Obviously, all managers do that. But what I'm saying is he is happy to sit everyone behind the ball, wait for an opportunity to counter-attack. He's going to do it against Liverpool, I'm sure. He's going to sit deep. I don't think he's going to go out and attack them. And if Liverpool attack, you know, we've seen how devastating Kane and Son can be on the counter. I think Liverpool's defence will probably cope with it a little bit better than maybe Arsenal's did. But still, that is how they're playing. And it's good for clean sheets for Reguilon. They're going to continue. And his attacking threat isn't too bad either. And obviously, when they changed to a back 5 against Arsenal, he was then a wing-back and he looks really good. Now, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to play wing-back too much. But very happy with him. And I think Crystal Palace away, as long as Ben Davies doesn't come in for some reason, which I don't see why he would, that's a really good fixture. And then Chilwell is just set and forget for me. I mean, Chelsea's defence is just very good. I know they conceded against Leeds, but it's just 1 goal. So again, they're keeping the amount of goals conceded down, as they always do. And the fixtures, I think, coming up are okay. I don't know if they're going to keep a clean sheet against Everton, but then it's Wolves in Game Week 13. And I think they're looking decent to be just set and forget for, I wouldn't say the whole season, because season keepers is not a term I really believe in, because there's always a reason to swap players at some point during the season. But I think Chilwell looks really good. So very happy with the defence. And expecting a few points this week. So I am probably going to go through the next 2 parts a little bit quicker because I want to do some tinkering, because this week essentially I'm not really looking to make a transfer. I don't really need to, right? My midfield is looking perfect. Maybe not perfect, but it's looking very, 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 very good. I don't have Bruno Fernandes, of course. Everyone can point that out. But he plays Man City this week, so I feel like if I'm ever going to get away with not owning him, is when he plays 45 minutes, in which case he probably could have got more points, by the way, or when he plays Man City. So I've got Kevin De Bruyne in that game. That's more than enough for me. I don't need any more players in that. Salah captain, easy decision this week. Not going to overthink it. I've already seen people starting saying things like, well, Fulham are improving. There's alternative captains out there. But one of my points pre-season, one of my kind of tips that I gave myself that I was going to do this season was 0 captaincy punts. And I don't think I've really done that. Even when I captained Rashford, I don't think that was a punt. It was a good game. Just so happens that Bruno was a better option, or I didn't have in my team at the time. But Salah is just, I don't care if every other player in the game captains him. I'm going to captain him. He is the best choice this week. No overthinking. Jota is a little bit of a frustration because he didn't start versus Wolves. They played 4-3-3, and to be honest, I do think 4-3-3 is still going to be Klopp's go-to formation. And when that happens, Jota is not part of the first 11. Simple as that, right? I know people said Firmino. A few Liverpool fans told me that Firmino was probably not out of favour but behind Jota. I don't think that's the case at all. I think still Firmino, Salah, Mane just offers so much to the team as a whole. Mane and Salah can score enough goals by themselves, and so Jota isn't first choice, but they could still rest players over Christmas. There's a lot of games. They could rest any of the front three and play Jota instead, and they could play 4-2-3-1 against Fulham because it's a bit of an easier game. So I'm going to see how many minutes he gets in the Champions League, but to be honest, even if he plays a full 90, I'm probably going to start him because it's Fulham and there's a big upside there. Son versus Crystal Palace. He may become Bruno Fernandes at some point, but right now I'm quite happy with him. And Grealish is back. Nice little rest for him. Probably good ahead of a hectic Christmas schedule. We know the fixtures are good for Villa, and we also know that he's going to play pretty much 90 minutes every game, so absolutely no reason to get rid of him. The big key question is, I don't have any premiums up front, so I've got 3 premiums, De Bruyne, Salah, Son. Is that enough? Right? I do have a route to get Bruno Fernandes without taking any 3 of them out, but it doesn't give me any money to change my defence. Now, Chilwell and Reguilon is probably enough. Would I like a third decent player in there, like a Reece James or a Diaz? I would, but at the expense of just getting Fernandes in for Jota potentially, that is something I'm strongly thinking about for Game Week 13, not for Game Week 12. I don't think I need to make a transfer this week with Fernandes' fixture, but Jota to Fernandes is something I can do when I talk about my forwards in just a second. So bear with me, I'll talk about them and then we'll do some tinkering as well. So I'm playing 3-5-2, so Calvert-Lewin and Bamford are currently up front. I've got Watkins on the bench who's playing Wolves away. I'm definitely playing Bamford 100%. I think I have to play Jota versus Fulham, and I'm not benching Grealish, De Bruyne, Salah or Son, right? So it literally leaves Calvert-Lewin or Watkins. Now, originally my plan was to play Watkins and bench Calvert-Lewin, but I'm actually thinking it's extremely close. I might just play Calvert-Lewin against Chelsea. I think they can score there. I think there's a chance at a clean sheet from Chilwell, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to happen. And so I think Calvert-Lewin against Chelsea at home is maybe as good as Watkins versus Wolves away. The only thing that kind of puts me off doing that is Wolves have changed to this back four and they have just conceded a lot of goals to Liverpool, but I've got to keep telling myself that is Liverpool. They can do that to any team, and so I probably shouldn't read too much into that. I think Wolves are still a good defensive unit, and I do think Villa might struggle a little bit, so I don't know if I want to play Grealish and Watkins. I might go for Calvert-Lewin, but Bamford's there as well. But basically, I now have 8 attackers, which isn't necessarily an issue, especially over Christmas, right? There's going to be rotation. It might be good to have an extra player on the bench, but it does mean I don't have as much money as I can in my first 11, in which case I do feel like I should downgrade someone, and it might be Calvert-Lewin due to the fixtures. Now, on paper, I don't actually think they're as bad as they look. I think they look bad on paper, but they're not actually that bad. But I still see the amount of points he's going to get going down. He often gets 6 points as well with no bonus, which isn't a bad thing, right? Because I got him at 7 million. So he's absolute value for me. But he is the easiest way I can upgrade to Fernandes. So that's the team for this week. 1 free transfer. I'm absolutely not using it this week unless there's chaos like a game being postponed or a major injury in Champions League. But I'm hoping players like Salah and De Bruyne are going to get a rest in the Champions League because the group's won. They're through top. They don't need to be playing these players. Jota might get some minutes just because he got rested in the Premier League. But overall, I'm pretty hopeful going into Game Week 12 with just 1 transfer. And the thing I like about, without using that 1 free transfer, and the thing I like about that as well is Game Week 13 deadline is Tuesday. So there's not too many price rises to worry about after the weekend. And having 2 free transfers that midweek could be really good. Like, I don't have to go a whole week waiting for more prices to rise. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident ahead of Game Week 12, but let's see what this week brings first. Okay, and now we go live to some tinkering. So I'm going to talk about certain players and stuff as well. I will say that I'm not trying to prolong this video anymore. I am not making any transfers this week unless something major happens. So that will be my team as you see on screen. So if you're not interested in hearing anymore, feel free to switch off. Thanks for watching. If you want to hear some thoughts on premium players going forward and how I'm going to get there, keep on watching, right? So in Game Week 13, I've probably got some big decisions to make. Bruno Fernandes, for example, has been a thorn in my side, right? He's been very good this season, and I've not owned him at all. I feel like my rank's okay considering I've not owned him, but it could have been better. Now, the key question is, how many premiums is enough? I've been working to a strategy this season of having 1 or 2 premium players that I want to captain every single week. Now, I'm not going to go through my strategy again. You know it. De Bruyne, Salah up until Game Week 15 is who I'm probably going to captain. The only week, I think, where I'm not likely to do that, so it's Fulham away for Salah this week. It's West Brom at home in Game Week 13 for De Bruyne. Game Week 14 is where they both have an okay game, but it's not Fulham or West Brom, right? And Bruno Fernandes, I think, has Leeds at home. So you could look at maybe captaining him. Then Game Week 15 is Salah. So I could just captain them all the way through to Game Week 15. So how many other premiums I have doesn't necessarily matter if then, obviously in a week like this where they all get like 10 plus points, it's really key to have them, but that doesn't usually happen. So as long as I've got my captains covered, I'm happy, right? So in this team, I've got 0.8 million in the bank. I could upgrade Lamptey to Reece James and have Chilwell, Reguilon, Reece James. That's a solid enough defence. Okay, I don't have Robertson or Trent. Bit frustrating, but that's still a solid defence. I think having Bamford, Watkins and Calvert-Lewin to choose from up front is great. And I could even potentially just play all 3 of them and bench Jota going forward. And right now, I don't need to worry about that money. So I'm sitting okay, right? But if I can get a 4th premium in, should I think about doing it? So Calvert-Lewin, I spoke about the fixtures just a minute ago. So Chelsea at home, I think, is really tough. Leicester, I mean, this is where it gets to the point where on paper they look tough, but are they, right? Leicester away, not keeping clean sheets right now. Arsenal, not keeping many clean sheets. Sheffield United haven't kept a single clean sheet this year. Man City, tough game, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of the next 5 are tough. Man City and Chelsea. 3 of them are games where I wouldn't expect Everton to score a lot of goals, but I could see Calvert-Lewin scoring. But ultimately, I would say over these next 5 fixtures, his scoring rate is going to go down. One thing to consider for me is, I got him for 7 million. He's now 8 million. Now, if his scoring does go down, he's probably going to drop in price, which makes it easier for me to get him back in. But ultimately, if it doesn't, if he keeps scoring over those 5 games, his price is probably going to increase a little bit. I wouldn't say he's not going to suddenly shoot up to 8.59 million, but he could be 8.2, 8.3. And to be completely honest, right, I wouldn't not get a player back in just because they've risen in price, and I didn't get those price rises. But paying 8.3 million for Calvert-Lewin is a lot of a different prospect than paying 7. And I do think in some ways, if I do get rid of him and he does keep going up in price, I'm probably not getting him back in anytime soon. I just think it'll be too difficult with how my team will be set up. So that's something I'm strongly considering. Now, the good thing about getting rid of him, if I come up to the transfer screen, so I got 0.8 in the bank. So like I said, Reece James is 5.2. I can literally do Lamptey to Reece James, have Chilwell, Reguilon, Reece James, still have a good team, and still at some point take out Calvert-Lewin or Jota or Watkins and use that money, right? So if I take out Watkins, for example, for a 4.5, it would probably still be Brewster, even though he's not starting right now, in the hope that at some point he starts. He usually comes on at least. That'd give me 1.9 to upgrade Jota to an 8.8. There's not really anyone I want in that price bracket right now. But if I take out Calvert-Lewin and we get rid of Reece James back to Lamptey, if I take out Calvert-Lewin for Brewster, bear with me just a second when I learn how to click, that gives me 3.8 million to spend. And Jota, I have 10.7, so I'm only 0.2 off Bruno Fernandes. Now, I really can't click. Now, so you can see there, 0.2 million off Bruno Fernandes. Now, I'm not doing it this week, right? So this is already a 4-point hit, and I've got to take another hit to fund it. But next week, I'll have 2 free transfers. At least I hope I will. We'll have to see what happens. And if I've got 2 free transfers going into Game Week 13, then I can spend a 4-point hit to fund this. Now, how would I fund it, right? I could do Lamptey down to a 4.5 million player. Who that would be right now, I'm not 100% sure on, but there's a lot of 4.5s to choose from. I could downgrade Martinez to a 4.5 keeper like Meslier. They got really good fixtures, but I don't really want to get rid of my Aston Villa players unless I absolutely have to. Reguilon's just gone up to 5.7 now, so I've made 0.1 million on him. So I could downgrade him to a 5.4, i.e. Reece James, and that's probably my favourite way to go. Do I think Reguilon needs to be sold? Absolutely not. I think his attacking threat is still there. Probably not so in the big games because obviously they play quite deep. And I do think clean sheet wise, Palace clean sheet, Leicester could be, Wolves maybe, Fulham, Leeds, Villa, Sheffield United. These are all really, really good fixtures for Spurs. So I don't necessarily have to get rid of him. But Reguilon to Reece James would fund it, and I don't think having Reece James instead of Reguilon is that big of an issue, right? And that gives me a ridiculous midfield of Grealish, Salah, De Bruyne, Son and Fernandes. I've got pretty much every single big hitter covered. The only ones I don't have are Sterling, but I've got De Bruyne. I don't have Mane, but I've got Salah. I don't have Kane, but I have Son. Now, in Game Week 16, when Spurs play Fulham, would I be happy captaining Son instead of Kane? I probably still would have Kane down as the better captain option. But unless I'm going to captain a Spurs player for kind of 3 out of 5 weeks or 3 out of 6 weeks, I probably wouldn't move too much money around to get Kane. But also, by the way, it would be an easy move of Brewster and Fernandes to Kane and Basuma. So I'm leaving myself in a position where it's just 2 moves to get Kane in. Now I look at that team and I wonder, which players don't I have that I need? I don't think there's too many there. I really don't. So I've got plenty of ways to get that 0.2 million if I want. I know there's a 4.3 million forward, but it's Davis. He's a Villa player. I already have 3 Villa players, so I can't make that move. But that's something I'm considering. Do I think you need 4 premiums like that? I don't, to be honest, right? Because if I still made that move of Calvert-Lewin to Brewster, I'd still play 3-5-2, but I could get a different mid here. Let's say I get Rashford, for example, right? I'm not saying he covers Fernandes, but he's a good option in his own right. That gives me 1.3 million, right? I can go from Mitchell straight to Reece James. And then I've got Chilwell, Reguilon, Reece James, and I've still got Dallas and Lamptey as cover. So there's other ways around I can do it. But I think I'm going to get Fernandes. I really do. We'll see next week in Game Week 13 what happens. But that's what I'm currently thinking. I'll have to fund it with 0.2. The good thing about the Reguilon rise is it's given me quite a bit of a buffer. So even if Reece James went up and Fernandes went up, I've still got enough money to do it, as long as no one goes down in the process. And I think I'm quite happy with that. The big thing, I guess, is not necessarily my defence, but up front I'd have Bamford and Watkins. And as soon as one of them gets injured, apart from Che Adams, there's not too many. Most of the other players I'd want are a little bit more expensive, like Antonio, for example. So that's something to consider. But at some point, I'm not going into this thinking I keep those 4 premiums forever. At some point, I'm sure one of them will get downgraded, and I'll choose that down the line. But this covers pretty much all my captaincy. It covers all the big hitters, and I just think it looks great, and I want to go for it. Over Christmas, most of those players are going to be nailed on, and there could be some massive points. And I said weeks ago that going cheap up front eventually will be the way to go. And yes, I don't have Kane, but I think, like I said on the stream the other day, you have to look at what you do have, not what you don't. So I don't have Kane, but I do have Salah, De Bruyne, Son and Fernandes, right? So I'm not worried about what Kane does. I'm pretty happy with that game. So that was quite a long bit of tinkering, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Let's get the video ended. So that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it was probably quite long, and the tinkering section in particular was quite long, but I do sometimes think that's the easiest way to get my thoughts across. Sometimes, I'm not thinking that far ahead, or I'm not thinking about that big of a move, but bringing in a 4th premium midfielder is quite a big move, and I think a lot of people are probably thinking about it. I don't think it's essential. I think if you've got 3, if you've got De Bruyne and Salah covered, and then you've got one, maybe 2 others, I think you're fine, right? But I'm in a position where I feel like I can move to 4 without completely destroying my team. The only thing I really wouldn't have is Robertson and Trent. But again, focusing on what I do have, I would have Chilwell, I'd have Reece James, I've got Dallas and Lamptey to cover that other spot, who have been doing quite well for me. And then I've got 4 premium midfielders. So I'm quite happy, but I won't keep going on about it. It's just the easiest way to get my thoughts across. So hopefully you enjoyed it. And obviously I did put in that break point where this is the end of, I'm not making any transfers. So hopefully that was okay. The video is sponsored by OneFootball. Please do check them out if you haven't already. Link in the description below. Completely free. Give it a go. Help out the channel. Why not? Like if you've enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here as well. Please do that if you haven't already. And I'll just do a quick shout out to Patreon. So patreon.com/Let's Talk FPL. Link to that in the description below if you've not already checked it out. If you want to support me and the channel a little bit further, there's some perks over there as well, like Slack access, WhatsApp access, extra content, team reveals and all that kind of thing as well. So big shout out to everyone that's already signed up and all up on the Legends wall as well. Big thank you to everyone that has already clicked that link and checked it out. And I'll just put the last lot on. Big thank you, and I'll come back to me. So there we go. I'll leave it there. This video has already been probably way too long, which I'm going to get moaned at in the comments below. But that's the way it is sometimes with these videos. I like to get my thoughts out there. Give it a like, give it a subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with the Game Week preview. Thanks very much for watching.